Hello and welcome to Microsoft Hates Greg. My name is Greg Deckler, and today we're going to be taking a look at the performance of table visuals. So I did this early on. I'm just getting around to making the video on it now. But basically came up with, a standard table visual, and then what is conditional formatting? How does that impact it? Like this is web URL. Um, the difference, what are the different style presets? Does that matter? What if I add spark lines, right? And if it's one spark line or two spark lines or three spark lines. Here's some more of the different formats, right? This is still a table. So it's just playing around with grid lines and things like that. It doesn't matter if it's a big table or a small table. There's another one with spark lines with a blank space, like a blank image, so the spark lines look more interesting, that sort of thing. So this is all the type of stuff that I was experimenting with. And so here is this was done early on before I kind of implemented like the metrics that I use these days. And this was like, in the pattern, right? So nowadays I put a visual on a page, I refresh it 10 times, right? Export it, to a file folder and do that, repeat that all over and over again. I think these were done where I was just doing one single refresh. And I don't know if there's anything you can really gain from this. So this is the table visual only. So I use that as my baseline. And then you can see some of these like rendered, in less time. I guess this one was interesting because it's kind of an outlier as far as the DAX query took longer. Not sure why on that one, but overall it rendered in less time than just the default table visual. Versus, once you start at I guess the one thing that I got out of this, because this could all be margin of error kind of things. I'm not really sure that like, table no total, is that really, probably maybe it's more performant. It would make some amount of sense. But things are kind of all over the board with this. So maybe I'll go back and redo this with my better testing method where I get an average of 10 refreshes. And I think maybe that might clear up some of this. But one thing that I do see in this is that it seems like if the table is larger, right, it takes up more page, so it has to load more rows. And if you use spark lines, spark lines become very, very expensive. And I did these testing so long ago, I don't even know what this is. Large table data remove columns. I don't even know what that is, but it took a lot of time. But I don't remember what test that was. But spark lines definitely, adding spark lines, especially you start getting multiple spark lines. Like right here, it's like three, three, three. These are all three spark lines added to a table, and they're basically the most they took the longest to render in that. So now I did also do another test where this one I was just playing around with how big the table is on the page, whether it's like it only shows one row or 15 rows or 32 rows or 40 rows, right? And it did seem, to some degree, it did seem like, okay, well, the one row was it was the fastest, and then 15 was the next fastest, and then 32 was the next fastest, and 40 was the next fastest. But then I did it without the totals or with the totals. And so with the total, it was slower versus no total, right? But these are all 15 rows with the total. This is the one row with the total. And then you go to the no total, 40, 32, 15, and it's almost reversed. So I don't know. It's interesting in terms of when you're doing these performance tests, to get to make any heads or tails out of it. I mean, because if you just look at this, it looks like, yeah, it matters the table size, but then you kind of get conflicting results here. So anyway, that was what I was trying to do with tables. I might revisit this topic because I don't know if I came out with any clear, things other than spark lines are bad for performance reasons, right? So I might revisit tables, but I'll probably move on and try some other charts like matrices and other things that some of my viewers have been suggesting I do as far as testing and all that sort of stuff. I'm also going to get back to seeing if I can recreate the pages of this Life in Europe, right? If I can recreate these pages, knowing what I know now, can I recreate these pages so that they're faster than what they used to be? So I'm going to do that as well. And so I've already done this one, right, where we made it really fast, because this is all just one big image, more or less, other than these icons up here, or the buttons. But everything else on this page is a big image, but it 10x the performance of the report. So we're going to get back to that as well. And plus, I got all kinds of stuff to test with this performance stuff. So that is all I had for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.